Marielle's Sweet Shop by Dr. Tamara Pizzoli. Simone Santana had been a student at McPherson Elementary since her very first day of kindergarten. As a second grader, she knew everyone there was to know: the morning greeter, the cafeteria ladies, the secretary, the school nurse, the custodians, and the librarian. But the person she knew best of all was the principal, Miss Marielle Santana. That's because Marielle Santana was Simone Santana's mother. Every evening, long after all the other students and staff had gone home, Marielle and Simone would return to their cozy residence, plop their bags down by the front door, and transition into their evening routine. Simone almost always had spelling words and math facts to practice, and while she helped herself to a snack and got started on her homework, Marielle would kick off her high heels, slip right out of her stockings, throw her curls in a head wrap, roll up her sleeves, and get right down to her true passion: baking. While simultaneously starting supper, Marielle would prepare an after-dinner dessert for the pair. Once Simone's homework was complete, she'd join her mother in the kitchen, as the two loved nothing more than standing hip to hip, whipping up their favorite pastries together. Pies, cupcakes, cobblers, cookies, tarts, macaroons, chocolate, and marshmallows, Marielle and Simone were simply swept away by all things sweet. On school nights, when Marielle was particularly tired or had her own work to finish up from her office, the mother and daughter duo would prepare Simone's grandmother Lula May's pound cake. They both knew the recipe by heart, and it was a quick, satisfying, heartwarming treat. As they gathered ingredients, mixed, poured, and stirred, they each discussed highlights from their day. Simone's classmates looked forward to their daily snack time, as they were sure there'd be a sweet addition sent in by Miss Marielle, the principal. "We don't need these leftovers just lying around at home," Simone's mother laughed, as she carefully wrapped and packed whatever treats the pair couldn't finish from the evening before and placed them in a sack for Simone to share with her classmates. Mr. Ross, Simone's teacher, would help himself to 2 or 3 of whatever delight Simone brought into class before finally doling them out to his students. "What?" he'd grin as the kids groaned and complained he was eating too many. "I need all the energy I can get to teach you guys." Even the crumbs at the bottom of the bag disappeared at lightning speed. "My mom and I are bakers," Simone would say with a satisfied smile. What made Ms. Marielle a wonderful principal was the love and attention she brought to her job every day. Simone watched as her mother fused her passion for education and baking to make the students and teachers alike feel like part of one big family. On special occasions like Christmas, Easter, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, Marielle would host a school potluck on the front lawn of the school. The students' families were encouraged to cook specialty dishes, sweet or savory, to share with others while the children played and danced. On these special days, Marielle would prepare a large, elaborate custom cake to share with everyone in attendance. The cakes always stole the show, and everyone's hearts as well. Where there's talent, there's an opportunity for business. Marielle was often asked to bake treats for birthday parties, baby showers, retirement send-offs, and other occasions. She gladly accepted what she could manage in her free time, but soon the requests were pouring in at such a rapid rate, Marielle had to begin charging for her sweet treats. By day, she was Principal Marielle Extraordinaire, and by night, a baking boss up to her ears in orders. On more than one occasion, Simone had seen her mom stay up half the night to put finishing touches on flan or a funnel cake, and despite her mom's objection due to her bedtime, Simone would roll back her pajama sleeves and give her mother a helping hand. The signs of being overextended soon started to show both at home and at work for Principal Marielle. For the first time in a decade, she forgot a student's name during a conversation. Another day, she was 20 minutes late to her own faculty meeting because she'd fallen asleep at her desk. Simone knew her mom was at her limits when she forgot to turn the oven off twice, burned 3 batches of brownies, and accidentally mistook her homemade whipped cream for hair mousse. Late one Thursday evening, while Simone penciled in the last of her homework questions and Marielle looked over her lengthy to-bake list, the truth finally sank in, and then right out of her mouth. "I'm exhausted," Marielle sighed aloud. "I just can't do it all. Something's got to give." At the end of that very school year, Principal Marielle made a difficult decision and quit her day job to pursue her passion for pastries. When the fall semester rolled around, Marielle dropped Simone off in front of McPherson Elementary School and kept driving to her new home away from home, her startup bakery, Marielle's Sweet Shop. Owning a business was remarkably hard work, Marielle had to admit, but she'd never felt so satisfied. The challenges were plenty: indecisive customers, last-minute cancellations, inventory, budget balancing, and more. After school, Simone would join her mother at the bakery, help herself to a cupcake or brownie, and get started on her homework. No matter how busy the bakery became, her mother would allow Simone to lend a hand only after her assignments were complete and she had checked them over twice. There were also days when absolutely no one came into Marielle's Sweet Shop. One Wednesday afternoon, with not a soul to serve, Marielle was enjoying a hot chamomile tea while Simone placed fresh flowers on the tables. She was skimming the articles in the local newspaper when she ran across an advertisement of particular interest. It read, "Baking competition in 2 weeks. Sponsored by Bakers Across America, Incorporated. Cash prize for first place, $50,000. To enter, you must be at least 18 years old. Serious bakers only." Marielle stared at the words and visualized herself winning the prize money. Then she read the ad aloud to Simone. "It would be such a great boost for the shop to win this money," she mused. "I could afford to hire some help and invest in new cooking appliances." "Right," Simone grinned, "and I could get a raise in my allowance." The pair shook hands and made a decision to enter the competition. Marielle and Simone strategized and made prototypes for a cake that would blow the judges away and absolutely, without a doubt, be the winning cake. They agreed that the dessert had to be the biggest, boldest, grandest, most amazing, magnificent showstopper of a creation. "I'm thinking the Taj Mahal," Simone smiled. Marielle nodded in agreement. She would design, bake, and sculpt an edible replica of the Taj Mahal. In the days prior to the competition, Marielle purchased all the necessary ingredients and constructed several samples. It took a week to build what Marielle and Simone called the masterpiece. And by the time the day before the baking competition rolled around, the cake was nearly complete. Marielle just needed to put a few finishing touches on what she was sure was a culinary masterpiece for the history books. That morning, Marielle dropped Simone off at school and then went shopping for a new outfit to wear to the competition. Then she ran errands all day before picking Simone up at 3 p.m. The duo arrived at Marielle's Sweet Shop early in the evening with their sleeves rolled up and head wraps in place. Only when they walked inside the bakery, nothing was as it should have been. The tables and chairs were overturned and the cash register was jarred open. As Simone stood at the entrance with her mouth agape, her mother ran to the kitchen in the back. "No!" Marielle screamed as she pushed open the swinging door to the bakery kitchen. "We've been robbed! They took everything!" And it was true. Practically everything but the kitchen sink had been stolen from Marielle's sweet shop. To add insult to injury, the thieves had toppled over the Taj Mahal and left it in a heap of broken dreams in the middle of the kitchen floor. Marielle sank to her knees next to her masterpiece and sobbed. "I spent everything we had on opening this place," she screamed through tears. "How could they? Who would do such a thing?" Simone rubbed her mother's back in silence. After what seemed like an eternity, Marielle rose to her feet and called the police to make a report. "Let's just go home, baby," the mother finally said through sniffles. "There's no time to bake a cake good enough to win that competition." She motioned for her purse and keys, but Simone's hand stopped her. "Wait, Mom," she began. Then she silently grabbed a large bowl from a cabinet and a spoon from a nearby drawer. She gathered the necessary ingredients: 3 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, 1½ cups of flour, a package of baking powder, 1/2 cup of rice milk, 1/2 cup of olive oil, the zest of 1 lemon, vanilla seasoning. By the time Simone was whisking the eggs together with the sugar, her mother had joined her. Hip to hip, the pair moved in and through love, tears, faith, anger, grief, and determination. As Simone opened the oven door and slid her grandmother Lula May's pound cake inside to bake for 50 minutes at 350 degrees, she raised her head and noticed her mother's cheeks were dry. The two embraced each other in the warmest of hugs. The next morning, Marielle and Simone arrived at the bake-off competition with their very best effort in hand. Neither of them had seen so much pastry perfection in one place. While the judges deliberated, Marielle paced the floor. Simone smiled at the judges when they made their rounds and said, "My mom and I are bakers," as she offered each of them a sample. Soon the scores were tallied and the results were announced. Marielle's sweet shop, with a simply delicious pound cake and an incredible story of resilience, won first place. "You could taste the love in each bite," one judge said as she handed Marielle a check for $50,000 and a gold trophy. Now, about my allowance. Moral of the story: in every disappointment, there's a blessing. Copyright 2021 by Dr. Tamara Pizzoli.